Thanks for joining us today. I'm here with Trevor Martin again and Brielle Wohlenhaus. Brielle, on your LinkedIn page, your intro tagline says you empower young individuals to unlock their full potential by making wise decisions. And I am really intrigued by what that means.
Yeah. So to just give you guys a bit more background and context, it all started, I want to say, when I was about 17. I really just, not to sound cliche, but I felt like, my life is meant to be something greater. And I saw what many individuals my age were doing at that young age. And I didn't want to be a part of that. It looked like to me it was a repetition of a lifestyle that simply entailed poor choices. And I saw many of those choices that were being made, and they just didn't have any outcomes that were healthy or sustainable for long-term results. I knew what I envisioned for my future. I wanted to be successful, and not even in a, monetary way, like helping people, building things. And again, it goes back to those choices. And if we aren't very sharp and wise when it comes to the things that we are implementing daily and the choices that we're making, we're not going to get, too far. And so that's when I just started to think about what do I want to do? What is my purpose, my calling in life? And I really felt that was, to be a well-represented voice for my generation. And that's how it all started.
Okay, well, that's super interesting, and I'm going to tell you why. Not just using fancy words to impress you, but so I love what you said because I've told Trevor this story, but when I was 14, I made some really bad decisions, and those decisions landed in handcuffs. And those decisions, which landed in handcuffs, ultimately led me to leaving home. And at 15, I made the wise decision that, well, the only way I'm going to stay out of trouble is to leave the trouble,
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying the only way I'm going to stay out of trouble is to make better decisions. Wasn't that smart at that age. And so what, it took me a long time to learn that the decisions I made yesterday don't have to affect tomorrow as long as I take accountability. So I'm curious, you say that you saw this at 17. And I know, Trevor and I have swapped some stories about our past, and I know he'll have a couple to share. So, how at 17, there's not a lot of resources available to get started. So, how did you take those first steps to say I'm going in a different direction? I'm assuming you had some type of support network, but can you tell us about that?
Yes. Well, my parents are divorced, but I have amazing parents, and my dad was out, doing his thing, running his business. But I give, that credit to my mom. She raised me and my brother, and without her, I certainly wouldn't be who I am today. And, that was obviously huge, having that support system. I know not everyone is as grateful or, even lucky to have what I had in that sense. But besides that, I just really stayed disciplined again in not succumbing to peer pressure like I see so many individuals even today doing. No, I'm not going out partying every weekend. No, I'm not doing drugs and getting involved in X, Y, and Z, like that. Because to me, it's like once you start dabbling, I feel like it's hard to stop. You do get sucked in. It's like a black hole type analogy. Once you're down there, it's hard to get out. Like, so and then year by year go by, and, I keep growing and flourishing, and all these things start happening. And it's like this domino effect. I just really stayed with it. And that ultimately entailed periods of, loneliness. Like I didn't have any friends who were on this path with me for a while. No one was rooting for me, lifting me up, cheering me on. In fact, many people didn't like me. I got bullied. I got made fun of for making these wise decisions. And isn't that ironic? Because when you see somebody who's
Reach.
doing something different, then it's like, oh, I don't like that, or I don't like you because you have the balls to do something different. So, I stayed focused on that path.
So you've said hot button word for me, the bullying side. And it's interesting because that's kind of how Trevor and I became connected.
Mhm.
His stories have just hit me hard. And so you go down this path of I'm going to make different decisions. You have extensive background in marketing, and I'm looking forward to hearing about the entrepreneurship club that you're part of, because
Same.
there are there are kids like Trevor and I out there who are going to see your story and say, yeah, I want to do the same thing. I want to make better decisions. I want to lead that path.
Mhm.
So, how did you how did you fall into marketing, or not fall in? Maybe how did you earn your way into marketing?
Sure. So again, kind of going into a more broader background story. Let's just start from the beginning a little bit. So I'm from Minnesota, as we talked about, and just I've always been very independent too, ever since a young age. I was a huge tomboy, like didn't like to follow the rules, but I really wanted to do something different. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pack up all my stuff and move across the country. I want to submerge myself in a whole new city, state, environment, everything. I've always wanted to live by the beach, and now that's where I am in Florida. And that is where I started to finish my degree. And so that was almost 2 years ago when I was early 21. And I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do at that time. And I started getting pretty hard on myself too, to be honest. Like, I got to get it figured out. I got to get it figured out. And I shortly came to the realization, like, we're not supposed to have it all figured out. And I think that's something that everybody needs to remember. And I really started putting my faith in God too. And that's been of tremendous benefit for me personally. But just realizing, like, you know what, as long as I'm taking calculated risks and taking action towards my future, I don't need to have it all figured out. And so, literally, the day after I'm in Florida and I moved, my degree is in marketing and communications. I just went with that for reference because a business degree was like my layer of protection, basically. And I downloaded LinkedIn. Didn't know what I was going to do, had no idea what I wanted a personal brand to be. That was rarely even a thing at the time, but I just started connecting with people, engaging with people, like, reaching out to people within the community. And that really started building my reputation, building myself. And keep in mind, I wasn't even posting. I wasn't even posting on there up until a couple months ago, actually. And so I started doing those things and not even realizing it, but I was really solidifying my marketing skills, my sales skills, my communication skills. While doing that, I would hop on Zoom calls with people just by simply talking to people in the DMs, sending them audio messages. People are like, wow, this girl is sharp. I want her on my podcast. I started getting reach again without even posting. And so that was just the LinkedIn side of things. And so I started building a couple of different things while I've been in school. And through that, it's just opened so many doors. It's been a tremendous opportunity to keep obtaining new skills, growing my knowledge, meeting new people. So it's all to do with marketing.
It really is. So, real quick, Trevor, question for you. Have you gotten one of those LinkedIn video call messages yet, where somebody just records a message in the DM and sends it to you on video?
Not on video. Well, actually, yes, I've gotten two on video, but the primary ones are the audio. But yes, I have gotten the video ones.
Okay, so the first time I didn't even know it existed, and the first time I got one, I was just like, "This is the coolest thing," and
Yeah.
I totally put that person on a pedestal they didn't deserve. And let me tell you why. It turns out it was a headhunting company out of like Jackson, Michigan. And I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. And they even had my name on a piece of paper. Like, that's what caught my attention. I'm like, this is just for me. Nope.
Nope.
There's a company out there that produces those. So like 2 days later, I got the same one from another company, and it was the same girl. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. I got duped, but I was still excited. So I think that's cool. I love what you're saying about, the impact that the website had. I joined LinkedIn, I think, in 2009, and never did a single post, I think, until 2017. And then it was just like a quote. Not even my words. I just put it out there to see what would happen, and nothing happened. 16 people liked it. And so it was about 2 years ago that I started posting almost every day. I wasn't consistent. I didn't get really consistent in posting every day until about a year ago. And I just said, whatever it takes, I'm going to get it done. And this is before I learned about, the timed feature where I can load my content tonight and have it post tomorrow. So I just put a calendar reminder in every morning at a certain time. Don't forget to post on LinkedIn. And you're right. The consistency of being out there and being engaged on the site, that is, to me, it's not even the posting. The posting is nice, but the algorithm really holds most of it down. The being engaged and commenting on other people's stuff, starting that conversation, that dialogue, it's always amazing to me when I'm scrolling through a post or scrolling through my feed and I see a post that I'm like, that post is okay, but it's got like 150 comments. I'm like, what is going on there? And then I click on the comments and what I see is a conversation has happened there.
Yep.
And it's just like texting back and forth. And it just happened the other day on a post with Mike Shanat. Mike and another one of my contacts just went back and forth. And it was really cool to see that. And I'm getting the alerts. They come to me like text messages. And I'm like a proud dad. I'm like, look at these two. This is great. Now they're connected and they've built a relationship. So it's funny, the power of a simple app. And I call it simple. I mean, Microsoft puts a lot of energy behind it. So.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
So the Entrepreneurship Club, can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So this year, so it'll be, I want to say like 9 months ago, I went in after the summer into the fall semester. I didn't have any friends in Florida. Nobody after a year. And I met this gal in my class the first day. Well, not met her. I knew her. She was more of an acquaintance. And we actually had an internship together. And so I basically just said, hey, Michelle, blah, blah, blah. We struck up a conversation. And then after class, I went into the cafeteria and I saw 2 more individuals who I had like group projects with and stuff like that. And we just all sat down together and it was like crazy. I mean, I swear that day we just became like 4 peas in a pod. Next thing you know, like to this day, they're just my best friends. I mean, they're such amazing people. And to that, we decided, let's start an entrepreneurship club. We're all very entrepreneurial. We elicit those skills, and there's nothing on campus where entrepreneurial minded students can come together and think like that. School, unfortunately, is structured in a pretty backwards way, to the point where today it's like you don't need a degree to do anything. You don't need a degree to succeed. Your degree can be from your phone, but and a lot of the classes and stuff like that too, unfortunately, it's just for different things it can be beneficial, but a lot goes in one ear out the other. It's not a whole lot of hands-on tangible skills, right? And so that was basically our mission for the club, is we want to have this place where students can come together, eliciting that growth mindset and think big. And so we started bringing in speakers, doing virtual speakers, curating network events, development workshops, and it's really been beneficial for kids. And we look forward, when we're all graduated, to keep the tradition carried on as well.
So how does someone join this club, or can they join it?
It's free. I mean, it's not even like a sign up thing. We have a social media page and everything going on. When we have our next meeting coming up, we post graphics and we're on the marketing. We also do a lot of in-person marketing. Just, hey, what are you doing this Thursday at 5? Come to the Entrepreneurship Club. And we have a pretty good turnout rate. Kids have been really enjoying it. And speakers are constantly DMing me, even from across the world, like, hey, I would love to speak at your club. I think that's awesome what you're doing for kids. And they've been really enjoying it. And it's free. So why not,
Yeah. So is it in person and virtual?
Yeah, so I like the actual club itself is in person. If we have a speaker, then, say they're in California or something across the world, then they would, just do a Zoom virtually for the students to listen in, for them to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there a set schedule of when you guys meet, or is it just based on demand?
Yeah, so we're done for the semester now, through the summer, but through the semester, we switched it up a bit, but we've been doing 2 Thursdays. So yeah, 2 Thursdays every month at around 5 o'clock, maybe 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just thinking from a business perspective, there are probably like-minded, energetic, driven people that are showing up to these students. Let's say hypothetically, as a business, I wanted to get involved somehow in either sponsoring the group or offering internships. Is that something that has been talked about? Are you open to it, or is there a different mission to try and help catapult some of these students off into the business world?
Yeah, so I would say, honestly, me and my friends are going to have to sit down and talk because we're trying to balance a lot of different things. And we're kind of thinking, okay, do we want to keep the club running? Because one person just graduated. I'm going to be graduated in the fall. And then the other two people in the next semester. So we're kind of thinking, do we want to hand this over to somebody now ahead of time? I think that's honestly where we might be going with it, just because our priorities are looking a little bit different with some, bigger things going on top of bringing in income and stuff like that to live. So to answer your question, I suppose it depends basically on what we would figure out. But I know between the students who do show up, even if it was, 3 or 4 people, they are like-minded. They dream big, they think big, and they're taking action to, reap those things.
So the reason that I asked the question is, when, just being called the entrepreneurship club, generally what you're going to find is self-motivated folks who are willing to just get gritty and get in and do what it takes. And I can tell you that from a startup perspective, there are probably companies out there that are looking for people like that. And it might be an opportunity to give them even maybe a resume builder to say, hey, I'm in this club and here's what I do. And from a legacy perspective, I think it's something cool that you've done. And your story about moving across the country, staying true to your values, finding like-minded people like yourself who came together and said, hey, we found ourselves in this situation. What are the chances that there's other people here?
Mm-hmm.
And so you go out and you start a club, on your own time, your own efforts, your own dime, and people actually flock to it. I think that if you are ever interested in having that conversation, I know I can speak for Trevor and myself. We'd be very interested in partnering in that conversation because I have locations all over the country and always looking for. And we are a startup. We've been around for about 5 years, and we are always looking for people with the entrepreneur mindset because we treat all of our locations as kind of just their own little profit centers, their own little businesses, and we empower the leaders to run them like their own business. They have complete financial control, complete decision making. So, and I know I'm not alone. America is full of startups like this that I think would love to have access to young talent that's young, hungry, and ready to change the world.
That's needed. Yeah, well, thank you. It's definitely something to talk about. And on that note, I agree because it's rare from my standpoint to even find friends like that. Not many, unfortunately, it seems, especially in my generation, have that drive. Like, I want to work super hard to obtain X, Y, and Z. There seems to be with some, again, unfortunately, and this was actually a statistic that I saw recently, in entitlement mindset, which is why some companies, managers, and CEOs may find it rather difficult to work with Gen Zers. And so obviously that entitlement isn't going to get us too far. But if we have that drive, like, hey, even I'm willing to work for free, like, that approach, you're gonna go far with that.
Yeah, spot on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I think, so this is one of the reasons why I really wanted to talk to you, Brielle, is because of the generation that you come from, number one, and how you stand out, different, because of your mentality and because of the willingness to get dirty, to put in the time, to put in the effort, to go after what you want, not just sit back and go, whatever it is going to, whatever is going to be, right? You have a totally different mindset. And listening to you talk, I was on a podcast the other night, and the question was asked, how would you, I'm going to try to get this right. How would you describe leadership to a 5-year-old? And I said a couple of things. Number one, I would say, hey, you share your toys, right? Hey, here's my tools. Here's my toys. I'm going to share them with you. That's leadership to me, right? That's how I define leadership. But it goes deeper than that. It's about grabbing those kids and saying, hey, not only here's the toys, but guess what? Let me show you the way to the sandbox. Let me show you where we play. Let me show you where we gather. And all of this is swirling in my brain as you're talking about the things that you're doing in your life, specifically relating to that entrepreneurship club, and bringing people, other kids, to an event or to just a group and saying, hey, look, the way you're thinking, it's exceptional. You wanting to go after your dreams, you wanting to go tackle those goals because you just feel it, because that's who you are and that's what you want. You're not willing to just sit back and let life happen. No. Like to your point earlier, you got the balls to go out and do it. So guess what? Here's a platform. Here's a place where we can encourage and enable you and set you on the right course. And to me, Brielle, that right there is a pure definition. I mean, that's the definition of leadership. So bravo.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And off of everything you just said, that's so true, because I don't know why some people think too, like if they get that position, that power, then it starts to get to their head, their ego starts to get in the way, unfortunately. And it's like, there's so much to go around. There's so much to go around. And truly, when you are empowering other people, lifting up other people, I believe good just naturally comes back your way without expecting it, because that's just the roundabout effect, like literally today, my best friend who's also in the entrepreneurship club, I'm like, hey, I have like this amazing connection. I'm going to link you guys together. He's looking for a job. Boom. Like, what is that going to do if I help him? Is that going to set me back? No, not at all. So you're right. Leaders do pave the way and they genuinely want to help others. Like, let me show you how. Here's the blueprint.
Yes, it is all. Oh man, that's my jam. It's all about, right? It's all about promoting others over self. So when you think about, there was another question that was asked. How do you, what does leaving a good legacy look like? Like for a leader, how do you leave a good legacy, right? A great legacy. And my response is, man, you go, if you're a CEO, you just talked about being a CEO, he goes to the head and owner, whatever, go be with your people. You want to leave a lasting legacy. It's not about you. It's not about the title. It's not about the position. Okay. We get you the owner, we get you the CEO, and that's awesome because you've put in the work. So well deserved. Now you want to take that on to the future. You want to make that last through the generations. Go spend time with your people. Ask them, hey, what do we need to make this company even better? How can I get better? What do I need to do to improve? There's a lot of self-awareness there. And if people actually stop and take the time, to your point, what you just did, hey, you know what? I got somebody you need to connect with. Let's bring these together. And then I'm going to watch you all grow. And that right there is going to come back full circle, because they're going to remember, hey, wait a minute. I remember Brielle gave me a leg up on this, and that was the contact. Hey, Brielle, I've got a couple people that you need to talk to. And pretty soon your network just goes.
Yep. That's how it works. Because I'm not a finance guy. My best friend Spencer is a finance guy. So why would I try and pretend like I'm a finance guy for what? And that's the cool thing too, when you think about people, is we're all given different talents and skills and capabilities. That's what makes the world go round. So if you're feeling insecure about another person, or wow, I wish I had what they had, they're probably thinking the same about you, so it is true.
For sure. I got one question that's really I gotta ask. When you said there was times where you were feeling down, you're feeling lonely, right? You hit Florida, you didn't have a friend, right? You're just, and I'm gonna guess at some point in time in your head, you're like, you know what? Um, I'm adding stuff up, and I don't know if this is worth it. Maybe I just, I cut bait. Maybe it's just done. What did you do during those times? What did you do to kind of self rally? Like, you know what? Whoa, no,
Mhm.
Brielle, nope, no, we got this.
Right.
What was your process?
Yeah. Just to take it back a couple of steps too, because this is important. It was actually in 2019, um, about half a year before I even moved. I looked at this quote unquote friends in my life, and I realized, like, what are these individuals actually doing in my life? They're not adding value. They're not there for me. This is not reciprocal relationships. And it's not like, oh, I just cut them off. No, but I needed to, because I'm the type of friend who's always there for people. I mean, I'm a giver. I'm like, hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Not like bombarding their phone, but like I'm a good friend, humbly speaking. I'm there for my friends and the people I care about. And you should be, like, my friend is sick. I bring her a goodie basket. And I realize, like, you know what? Y'all aren't ever bringing me a goodie basket. I think it's just time to cut the cords. And again, with the decisions, they just like down a bad road that I didn't want to participate in. So I cut them off, and I knew, again, yep, this might be who knows how long until God brings the right people into my life. But about a year and a half later, again, that's where I met those people. And to answer your question in the meantime, I mean, for me, exercise, moving my body is huge. I love lifting weights. I love going for walks. Literally, I'll be working and studying and I'm going for walks. Like, I cannot sit still. So I'm walking. I love swimming, going to the ocean. That is my form of therapy, rather than the unhealthy substances that don't, have consequences, or that do have consequences long term, right? I love music, listening to music, cooking, baking, like, literally just the little things like cleaning my house, these things that take my mind off of everything else, staying productive, staying busy. And so, even just socializing, like going on LinkedIn, building my network, feeling good about, yeah, maybe I don't have any solid friends right now, but I'm doing all the right things. It's gonna come. I prayed about these things, and sure enough, everything solidified.
I personally love that answer.
Yeah.
I'll tell you just briefly. Sorry, Trevor had coached me up before this to not make this about me, but when you say you prayed about it, I am where I am today, and I credit prayer for that, because 6 or 7 years ago, I knew I was missing something. I knew something in my life wasn't complete. And, beautiful wife, two beautiful daughters. We've got good jobs, a nice home, great church. Um, and I just knew, I felt like I was supposed to be somewhere else. And an opportunity fell into my lap literally by accident. And even I said no to this opportunity so many times, but things kept creeping in, where every time I said no, and I never told anybody why I said no. I just said no, and here's why. I told myself. And then a day or two would go by, and that issue that I said no about was resolved. And
Yep.
And what it is a job offer came in, and I said no, I don't want to do that, and I don't want to do it because of this. Well, they would call back a few days later, and all I would say is no thanks. Hey, what if this piece of pie was added to that dinner? Would you eat the dinner then? And I said no, and I thought of another reason. And there have been more times than we have time to talk about tonight, even if we went on for like 4 hours, that I was able to step back and say, this is why I am here. This is why I'm sitting where I'm sitting now. And it was from impacting somebody else's life in a positive way, just being that ear for them in a really dark moment, to literally putting someone in school and helping them finish their degree so that they can take care of their family at greater levels down the road, or just helping them hit personal milestones. And not one piece of it had to do with making money. It was
Mhm.
all about helping people's lives improve by being better people, by hitting their goals. So I love your answer that you just prayed on it, because I think a lot of people are afraid to say that today. Um, but there's nothing wrong with some good prayer when you're trying to really process a major life decision.
Mhm.
And I think that it's powerful that you, because and if people don't know, I encourage them to go check out your LinkedIn page to see the type of content that you're posting and to see the
Yeah.
lifestyle that you live, because it's motivating as a father of daughters. And sadly, I will say they're not far behind you. That's how old I am. It's motivating to see young people like you having the courage and having the strength to say, I'm not buckling to the peer
Mhm.
pressures of society, and I'm not afraid to pray about it and to look for that strength internally. Because I know, Trevor and I have swapped stories about some of the struggles that we've faced, and I have stepped back, taken that breath, and said to myself, what I'm dealing with is not as hard as I'm thinking that it is right now. And I've got to get through this because there's something bigger coming at me and I've got to be ready for it.
Mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. And I agree on all those points. I think true. We are definitely under attack. I would say, sadly, my religion, it seems that everything else is deemed okay. But if a Christian says that this is what I do, this is how I practice my faith, my religion, then nope, you're wrong. That's not okay. And it really is, it's unfortunate because it's like, just respect other people. I've had Christian friends who, don't think like me in all the same ways, or, I know an atheist and I sit down and have great conversations with them. Like, we can't be stereotyping people and keep putting them into one box. All white people are bad, all black people are bad, all police. Like, no, there's always an exception to the rule. There's always bad this, there's always bad that. But, you're right, there's nothing wrong with prayer. And I've realized why wouldn't I talk about it? It's true. That's why. Like, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I wouldn't know my calling today if it wasn't for that. And I'm sure it sounds maybe that might be the same for you as well. And as you mentioned, it does get to a point too where it's not about the money. I believe if you do what you love, and that is supporting other people, helping other people, the money will come.
I agree. And what I will also say is the opportunities will come, even if they're not
Mhm.
monetarily related. And I'll cite, my friendship with Trevor. When I first started seeing him on LinkedIn, I was like, oh, here's another musclehead out there trying to motivate people to lift more weights.
Yeah.
But you get to know him and you realize, wow, this guy is a powerful guy with a powerful message, and people need to hear his voice.
Mhm.
Um, and I think through our friendship, mutually, we have brought people together. There's a whole handful of people who I know now, and I've had these conversations with because of LinkedIn, because of meeting people like Trevor, a lot of like-minded folks. And the funniest thing is, my biggest circle right now, it's all coaches. It's all
Mhm.
folks who do this and help other people. And the coolest part about it is, there's absolutely no animosity. There's no, I'm going to go after this client or that client. Trevor and I swap ideas all day long about, how can we mutually grow our message, and make that difference in the world that we want to make, so that the next generation coming up doesn't have to struggle as hard as we did,
Mhm.
or really at all. It would be just amazing if we could relieve one kid out there from the struggle. Which, to bring this all back home, one of the reasons when Trevor first told me about you, and I went out and looked at your profile, saw what you're doing, I said, I have mentored at youth kids who have made bad decisions like I made, and I fell into that rabbit hole of, well, this is my life. I'm gonna commit crimes and get arrested and do bad things because that's just who I am. And luckily for me, um, I joined the Army because I wanted to buy a car. It didn't do it for heroic reasons. I just needed money, and turns out I was bad at crime. So, um, just kidding. Uh, I was bad at it though. So, um, I was 17, joined the Army, left home, and then just had that reality check of there's a better life out there.
Mhm.
So I went into the mentoring of the at-risk kids to say, you're not defined by what happened yesterday. So I love what you're doing. And I don't really believe that it's that big of a difference in the mission between a kid who's at risk or a potential entrepreneur, because the I think the struggle is still there. The struggle of putting in the hard work to be a better person today than you were yesterday. And that constant motivation, because I think what Trevor was alluding to is there's always those voices in your head that are telling you you're not good enough, you're not going to do this, you're going to make a mistake. Oh, look, you made that mistake I knew you were going to make. And then you just, before too long, you're inside your own head shooting yourself down. And and this is why I love Trevor's message as well, because he's not afraid to get out there and say, this is a life I lived, and I don't want you to live this life. I want you to be stronger than me. I want you and your friends to push back against these bad forces that are out there, uh, so that we don't end up with more troubled youth, so that we don't end up with more failed entrepreneurs. I mean, yeah, you're going to have failures, but you've got to have the courage to get back up and go after it. And the world's going to crap on you. The world's going to throw those stones that you talked about of, oh, you won't come drink with us. You won't come to cocktail hour with us. You won't. And we know there's bad things happening out there, but to look at you and see that you are not afraid to weather that storm. And, I know that there's some people that are going to look at you and say, oh, you're just another privileged white kid who, went off and had this great life. Um, I moved across the country by myself as I wasn't a privileged white dude, but I was a white dude, and there comes some privilege with that. And I know how scary it is to be 1,500 miles away from your closest family member, and you got to eat. You've got to make money so that you can have that food. So
it's all on your own. Yep.
Yeah. And so that's what I love about your story. And the fact, like, I as a dad, I am terrified of the day my daughter comes to me and says, Dad, I'm moving here to do this thing. I'm going to be proud, but terrified at the same time. And, I hope that I raise my daughter to be strong enough where, she has the bravery and the courage that you have, or that you had to pick up and go. And so I do want to talk a little bit about that for the younger folks, young men or young women. Can you talk about some of the planning that had to go into you moving so that you didn't face some of those hurdles of, oh crap, I'm all out of money, or if you're comfortable talking about it, that moment when you're like, oh crap, I'm running out of money?
Right. Yeah, you're always going to have people saying X, Y, and Z. Like, I was actually just talking to another person on a different podcast about this as well. And, people are going to, you're lucky you have this X, Y, and Z. It's like, it all stems down though. It's my work ethic. It has nothing to do with luck or privilege, whatever you want to call it. Like, I've grinded, I've been saving, investing my money since I was 14, going back to the decisions, not spending my money on these things that other people are spending on, but they just don't want to think about that. They just want to blame you as the bad guy because you're doing something that they will never again have the balls to do. And that's just the brutal truth. But my 2 cents, well, just to back it up a little bit about how I got to West Palm, I started doing some research and I found this gem of a school that has really good morals and values. And especially in today's society, I don't want to go to some big school where they're forcing these ideologies down my throat. I'm not going to subscribe to that. I'm just not going to do it. And so again, I found this school and I'm like, I like this. I want to go here. I don't want to be in some big, huge party school college. Like, this is where I'm meant to be. And so I started doing some research about the city and stuff like that, realized if I could, find a place that I can afford downtown, great. Everything is around downtown. Like I can walk to the grocery store, I can, make my meals or get food out. Everything is, and I would say a 5-minute walking distance. So I save a ton of gas. I mean, I never drive my car, so that's a big save right there. I cook pretty much all of my own meals, a lot more saving money. And it comes down to, I mean, the money essentially goes to rent. Like I'm very frugal, even when I keep getting to a point where I don't need to be as frugal necessarily. I am, because I'm still going to be in that building phase for many, many, many more years for my future. And, I do live below my means. I know you hear different things about it, but I'm very smart when it comes to money. And, I do thank my parents for that. Again, I know not every parent is teaching their children X, Y, and Z, but I read a lot. I inform myself about financial literacy and different things like that as well. And so goes back to the bigger, topic about decisions again, but that's basically why I felt very comfortable going to this city. Everything's close, everything is in a close proximity. I feel safe. And, it was the best thing I've ever done.
So, what's your favorite thing about Florida?
Ooh, that's tough. Well, it was a lot different landscape for many reasons from where I'm from. I'd say during 2020, it was a refreshing move. The weather, for lack of a better word, the weather is amazing. I mean, it does get really hot in the summer, but Minnesota is beautiful. That's the thing as well. So it's hard. I almost say I wish there was a Minna Florida, because I love the fall. I love the summer in Minnesota, but I would say for the weather aspect, that was the main thing, and the beach, the weather and the beach in Florida.
Okay. So, favorite food that you've had there that you had never had before?
Ooh, that is tough. I gotta say, Florida, South Florida, they have amazing restaurants. I can't have gluten and dairy, not by choice, but they have so many allergy-friendly places and, desserts like pizza, all these things that I wasn't really used to having. And that's a tough one. I would maybe say Blaze. Blaze actually is a franchise all over, but I first tried it in Florida. They have gluten-free, dairy-free pizza that's phenomenal, and I'd say that's probably my favorite.
I'll agree with you on that. I think they're pretty good. I've had them a few times. Yeah, it's simple but freaking delicious for a chain.
Yes.
Yeah.
I gotta ask, have you had the calamari? It's the the octopus. No?
I'm not a seafood gal.
Oh man,
I had a bad experience when I was 9 years old, and I never looked back.
Oh, totally gonna have to hear that one day. But the calamari for me is the best when they're the thick rings, and then it's the actual full baby octopus. Dip it in marinara and pop her in.
Really? Okay, I've never tried that. Maybe I'll have to try it one time. But
okay, if you do, I want to know about it.
Yeah, I'll send you a video of me eating my nasty calamari.
Yeah, it's gonna be one bite and then.
Yeah.
So two things here. I think we've got the name of this video, and it's going to be "I'm doing things you don't have the balls to do."
Yeah, yeah.
And Trevor, I think that's the next shirt design.
Spot on.
And then,
I'm a woman,
Well, today, these days, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, in your state, it does.
It depends on which state I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah, this call is going downhill fast. So, the other thing is, I'm absolutely going to go grab the screen capture of your face when he asked you if you've tried calamari. That was the most, what the hell did you just ask me face I've ever seen in my life.
I was like, oh, not a fish yet.
Jon, who is this guy asking me about that gross stuff? Ugh.
Yeah, this guy from Iowa. What does he know about calamari?
All he can talk about is corn.
That's awesome. So, what does the next 5 years look like? And I asked this because you said you're getting close to finishing school. And where are you going to be 5 years from now?
I can't give you a solid answer on that. then I think that's a good thing. Again, going
Yeah, I
back,
respect
I
that.
don't
big
want
time.
to have everything figured out. Who I could be easily in another country in 5 years. And I think that's an amazing thing. I'm going to be accomplishing and have accomplished things in 5 years that I may not have any idea about.
Yep.
But
I love that
I'd say
answer
that's
too.
my best answer.
No, I actually think that's probably the best answer I've ever gotten to that question because it's honest, it's real. And that's what Trevor and I talk about is we do all of our videos raw. They're all unedited, so you see our mistakes. And I love that because
And we know Trevor has a lot of mistakes. Just kidding. He's actually you guys are both very good speakers.
uh,
Sorry.
yeah, he
We'll talk about it later.
yeah. Um, yeah, it's about being authentically you. And
Right on.
the we talked about legacy, and that's what for me. And I was talking about this the other day with somebody, and when you try to be someone you're not, and that I went on a walk with my wife today, and we were talking about this. um, my wife is a voice actor for Audible, and she was asking me questions about another voice actor that I know. And I said, well, I don't think that they're doing as much as they say they're doing. And she challenged me on it. She's like, well, what do you mean? They posted it on LinkedIn that they did. And I'm like, yeah, a lot of people post things they didn't really do. And that is, I think, what sets us apart is that I am exactly who I say I am. And you can roll up on me at pretty much any time, and I'm doing what I say I'm doing. And to me, it's important because my connections on LinkedIn span from all over the world, people I've never met, I'll never meet, all the way down to people I've known for 30 years, maybe longer. I don't know. Yeah, there's one guy I'm connected with I've known since 1994. Yeah, I think he's the oldest person I know on social media. And at any point, if I post something that's not true, any of those people could easily chime in and call me out on it. And so that's why the authenticity matters to me is I've got to know that what I post, somebody out there knows what I'm talking about. And usually I'll get a text message from that person, indicating that they know that's what I'm talking about. So, because if you go ahead, Trevor, sorry.
No, go ahead, John.
I was gonna say, if you've read any of my stuff, I speak primarily, unless I'm making fun of myself, I'm very generic in my stories.
Yeah, and both you guys are. I love the stories.
Appreciate that for sure. Some of those are pretty difficult to write on my end, but I'll say this. Here's the reason why they're difficult. Been a liar, been a cheat. I don't know, been, I guess what maybe some people, maybe you label it as the bad guy or evil. I've been those things. I've experienced those things. Yes. Right. I hate a bully. I talk about it all the time. I've been bullied. Here's the thing though. I've been the bully. And being authentic is hard. It's much easier to go, my name's Trevor Martin. I'd like to help you. I'm all good things here, and we're going to make you better. It's not that's not true, and people can see right through that. It is hard to talk about when being authentic. It is hard to talk about the tough stuff. It is hard to talk about the knocks and the things that the scars that we carry, and the people that the people that we've been, right, in the past. But it's my belief that's necessary. It's necessary to bring to the present. It's necessary to talk about while it's hard, but there's lessons to be learned there. And if we're truly going to inspire others, if we're truly going to call ourselves coaches, if we're truly going to help others, we have got to acknowledge that first. And when we peel back those layers on self, it makes it so much easier to say, hey, Brielle, I see you because I've been there. I want to help you. Not for the money, but because I've been there. And it goes back all the way. I say all of that to say it goes back, Brielle, to your mindset moving through this world is very, very, very unique. And keeping that mindset is going to take you farther than you could even imagine. And I, for one, cannot wait to watch that happen and unfold.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. You guys are awesome.
Just being real.
Absolutely.
So, if you're watching this video, I want you to know that the links so that you can connect with Brielle will be in the comments. And as always, the links so that you can connect with Trevor will be in the comment section. They'll also be posted in the comment section wherever this is posted on social media. And Brielle, what's the best way if someone wanted to connect with you? What is the best way for you for them to do that?
Believe it or not, LinkedIn. I know. No, that's the only platform I'm on. I got rid of my other social media. I believe if you're not using it to your advantage, which ultimately helps others, even simply a passion page, get rid of it. But Brielle Wohlenhaus on LinkedIn is where people can find me.
Fantastic. You know, it's funny because those who watch my videos consistently have asked me if I'm on LinkedIn's payroll or if I'm a sponsor or I'm being sponsored by them, because in almost every video I have posted, I end up mentioning LinkedIn, and I am not. In fact, I pay them. So,
Right.
Awesome. Trevor, do you have any final words for us before we wrap this up?
No, I mean, this has been Brielle and Jon. This has been an amazing experience. We're glad to, honored to be a part of it. Like I said, to each of you, keep doing what you're doing. The path forward should be difficult. The path forward should be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And as you move forward on that path, you're going to realize that, oh man, okay, this is kind of on the edge here, but that is exactly where the growth is going to happen. Mm-hmm. And Brielle, that is exactly why more people are going to go, hey, I need you on my on my podcast. I need to sit down with you. I need to hear your story and what you're about, especially those in your generation and entrepreneurs that are looking for the right path forward to that success.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. And that's what I strive for. I could say so many more things about it, but it is needed. Kids need help, not even in the entrepreneurial aspect, but finding their purpose, their identity, and making wise decisions to get there.
Awesome. Yeah, well, you know what? It's YouTube, so we can post as much content as we want. So if you want to come back and talk more about it, I would welcome it. And so there will be links with this video to Trevor's YouTube page, to my YouTube page, to all of our social media. Please reach out. Please connect. None of us are afraid to make a connection. You can follow. You can direct connect, whichever you prefer. Don't be surprised, though, if you follow me, I'm following you back. That's what I do. That's my thing. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channels. Please hit the notification. It alerts you every time a video is posted, so you don't have to check with us. We'll come to you. And we're grateful for all your support. And thank you for watching the video. If you've made it this far, give us a thumbs up so that we know. And have a great day.